Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is SockBot, and today I want to tell some stories, I want to recap some stuff, and I want to give some opinions for whatever those are worth. So, if you're watching my channel last week, I uploaded 5 videos on Dreams since the NDA was lifted on Monday. It was a crazy week to begin with at my day job, so I didn't get as much footage as I wanted, but nonetheless, I did play a heck of a lot of Dreams, since I had to record 5 full videos worth of footage in a week. But now, it's been a few days. The beta's ended, and I wanted to take those days to process my thoughts and feelings about Dreams. It was a pretty tough week, like I said, for me altogether, and I didn't want that to bleed into my thoughts about the game in general. But now that I've had some time, today I'm going to give a longer opinion piece, if that's what you want to call it, on the Dreams beta and the game as we've seen it so far. Again, this is from the perspective of a creator first and a player second, so your opinions may differ quite a lot. Also, I am a different person, so different opinions should be expected. At any rate, if you do like hearing what I have to say about all this biz, please let me know by leaving a like down below and subscribing to my channel if you want to see more, but as always, no pressure at all. It's good to see you guys regardless, or have you hear me, whatever you want to call it. So, I found out on Monday, the 28th of January, and that's where this story begins, that the NDA had been lifted, and I just want to take a minute to thank my body for holding itself together with how fast my heart was beating, because seriously, I have been waiting to make content on Dreams for, 5 years now? Since it was first announced, basically. And suddenly, with no preparation, I saw a video from Project Genesis as I was making my morning coffee that said I could start immediately, like, right now. Well, let me tell you, the second that happened, I called Dave, I called my best friends, I called my mom, or I tried to call her, but she's more popular and busy than I am 90% of the time, so I didn't get in touch with her, but I told all of my friends, hey, if I'm an ass this week, I'm sorry, but please give me any support you can offer. In retrospect, that was a bit dramatic, but it ended up being a good idea anyways, because I definitely relied on them a little bit. Now then, over the course of the week, I played probably 20 or so hours of the game, more than half of which was in create mode, so I am going to talk about that part first in terms of my opinions. There will be a timestamp in the description if you want to skip over to my opinions as a player, so feel free to, use that if that's what you're here for. So, my initial impression that I talked about 2 weeks ago was that create mode is hard, and it has a very steep learning curve. In some respects, that's still absolutely true, and that is both surprising and not surprising. So initially, I jumped in and I immediately started making a character. I was confused as hell as to how to make one from scratch, and honestly, I'm still confused about that. There is so much more tech in this game than there was in Little Big Planet, and a lot of the tech has changed significantly that is still labeled the same from Little Big Planet. In addition to that, relearning keyframes was a hell of a time for me, as I've literally never worked with keyframes in gaming. I've worked with it in animation, but that was like more than 10 years ago, so it's been a while, and that was tough. Luckily, the game does make it super easy, especially keyframes, but incorporating those keyframes into characters is a completely different story, and it became clear very quickly that I was not going to have enough time to learn how it all worked and still get interesting videos out every single day. Still, when I did connect up a character, or rather a basic shape with the basic movers and the like, again, this was more complicated than it was in Little Big Planet, but somewhat similar, it worked, and I literally burst into tears after getting it to work. So, baby steps, I guess. Now, jumping forward to, today, I do have a significantly different opinion of create mode, but I'm going chronologically with how my opinion evolved in this video, so let's move on to remixing a level. So I spent a few hours using the pieces that Media Molecule gave us to make our own versions of their time travel level with Connie, who, by the way, is the cutest freaking character I've seen in a video game in the last, year, maybe 2 years. But what did I learn from this sort of remixing activity? Well, from this and trying to copy things from a deluxe puppet like I said before, I learned that this is a very frustrating way to create an entire level. Just trying to resize the blocks, for example, that were supposed to kill you was exhausting because I didn't understand how to move the zones that would actually kill you. All I understood was how to move the terrain itself, which in Little Big Planet would have done something, but in this one didn't. Again, there were workarounds, but I wanted to be able to jump in, read through all the tech in each circuit board, and understand to some extent how it all worked by looking at its connectors. That was possible to some extent, but it's definitely going to be a much longer process than 20 hours will allow to go through that with each piece that they created and understand how every part of it works. So, today, where did I end up? Well, you're watching where I ended up, I suppose. Eventually, I took my own advice and I just started creating a level with a deluxe puppet. I told myself that I was going to worry about character creation later because my favorite thing to do involves level design. If you didn't know that, now you know that. And the second that I said that, and said about using all of my dexterity that I'd gained using the new control scheme, I made something that I was pretty proud of, and it was within like an hour. So I was talking to Dave about this whole debacle last night, and he said from what he's played so far of the game, it seems far more collaborative than Little Big Planet was. I totally agree with that, and I knew that going in, but I think I spent a lot of time denying that because I wanted to be able to do everything, or at least know how to do everything. Now, I'm sure I will learn each part because that's just what I enjoy doing, but it did calm me down a little bit to focus more on that sort of collaborative aspect, and working on the part that I really liked, e.g. the level design, flipped my opinion on the game significantly. Now, I'm thoroughly used to the control scheme, to some extent now, and I can say with confidence that the level creation is incredibly easy once you get used to it. The tools used to copy multiple sculptures at once work super well, and the tweaks that you can apply to each material make it so much easier to create structures and terrain that look supernatural and don't look shuddery or jittery or weird and awkward and painted. Seriously, I am starting to understand how they were able to create entire areas on stream within the span of an hour. But what I will tell veteran creators especially, do not go into this game thinking that you know how to build terrain. Creating 3D is a lot messier than creating 2D anything, but the good news is Media Molecule compensated for that. For one, the puppets they give you have a much easier time walking over uneven terrain. For two, the thermometer goes up much slower, assuming that you are reusing your assets, and honestly that's what you're supposed to do since you can have them intersect and look like completely new assets without building something new in the whole sculpturing tool. I mean, I use the same oval rock for the majority of this structure, if you can't tell, and given more time, I could have made it look like they were all very unique and like I wasn't just using that one rock. Didn't do that in every section here, but it's possible. But then also 3, and this is important, the flex and customizations that they give you that you can give to terrain make it literally the easiest thing in the world to create terrain that connects seamlessly, regardless of what kind of terrain you're trying to create. There's seriously no need for correcting things with a corner editor or anything like that, and that saved me a heck of a lot of time creating so far. Now, the transition between Little Big Planet and Dreams is still very tough, and I will admit that completely. I imagine new creators will have an equally tough time learning from scratch, but it is possible to learn this game, and honestly, it may have taken me less time to get used to it than when I started in Little Big Planet initially. I was terrified I was going to have to make a video saying that everything was still incredibly hard for me and I hadn't learned much at all, but I can say during these last few hours of the game, I swallowed my pride, did what the game pushed me to do particularly, and ended up with a dinky little mountain that proved to me that I will be able to create levels in Dreams somewhat in the realm of time that it took me to create them within Little Big Planet. Now, moving on to Dreams as a player of levels, we'll say, is a much easier experience, obviously. I talked before about how impressed I was with everything that has been created so far, and I stand by that completely. If Media Molecule's tech demos are anything at all to go by, their story mode is going to be incredibly impressive. But again, this video is about the beta, so I'm not going to speculate further on that. As a player of community levels in general, I saw a bunch of creators creating all the stuff that they seem to enjoy and excel at, and I also saw a few different levels that were created by a team, with one person collecting all those assets together into a functional level. I have no doubt that playing this game as a creator is going to provide a hell of a lot of content that, well, even non-creators are going to be able to appreciate. Obviously, I stick by saying that every lover of video games should try to create one at some point, as it does really help you appreciate the medium, especially when you're given the tools like within Dreams. But hey, I know it's not for everyone, so at least take a moment to glance over the various characters that people made that aren't complete levels. But as a player, in the end, Dreams is absolutely a hit. By the time players are finished in the story mode when the game is fully released, the community creators are going to have a healthy stream of content coming out for other players, if the current timeline is anything to go off of, and it's clear to me that the others have sprinted ahead of me with their create skills, so I imagine that this pace and quality is going to be maintained in the full game, and probably exceeded, because, you know, there's going to be a lot more people that have the game in their hands to begin with. So, final thoughts. Dreams is a hell of a game. It could go up and down from here, like, to some extent, but as a creator and as a player, I am thoroughly impressed. My mood was all over the place with the learning process as a creator, and I told you that, and I'm not going to lie, but I did settle on a very content and excited mood in general, and as a player, I was just consistently impressed. They could definitely improve the tag system for looking for levels in particular, but hey, it's still great. Alright, well, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I will be making a video about everything that is missing in create mode next, so if you do have any suggestions that, you know, things were missing or things need to be added to create mode, but they don't have them yet, well, leave a comment below because I want everyone's opinion, not just my own, because, I mean, I can talk about myself all day, but it's more fun when it's like a conversation. But yeah, if you did play the beta, or you watched a bunch of videos, which is totally valid, what are you thinking about it? Where are you in the whole, like, oh, it's too difficult, or oh my gosh, it's super easy? What are you thinking, SockBot? You're just slow and can't pick up things fast. Well, maybe don't say that, because I have feelings. But at any rate, I am excited to talk to you guys about it, and keep an eye out for February 20th, because that is our next big reveal date according to Media Molecule, and I'm assuming that's when they're going to announce the release date. Though not entirely sure, I mean, I'm pretty sure. But as always, my name is SockBot, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Goodbye! Bye guys!